With every episode, I'm just like, oh, I love Baby Yoda even more and more. So episode 6 of The Mandalorian, titled The Prisoner, debuted this weekend. And this episode was directed by Rick Famuyiwa. This is the second episode that he directed of this series. And my God, I really enjoyed this episode. And before I get into my review, this episode will be a spoiler-filled review. So if you have not seen episode 6 of The Mandalorian, go watch it, come back here. So like I said, I really enjoyed this episode. This episode sees the Mandalorian seek help from this man named Rand, who he used to run with back in the day when he was a younger Mandalorian. And something that happened in the beginning of this episode where Rand saw the Mandalorian, and obviously from the first couple of episodes, he's wearing a completely different armor and an upgraded armor from when he started in the first episode. And so when Rand saw him, he's like, Mando, is that you under there? And I'm like, how would you even know? Like, all Mandalorians pretty much look the same, except the only difference is maybe one is taller, one is shorter, and their armor is a little bit different. But at the same time, I'm like, okay. And then everybody's nicknaming him and calling him Mando. But I'm also like, considering we don't know this guy's name, what if there are like 5 Mandalorians in one room? How do you differentiate between all the different Mandalorians? Is it like, you gotta go, you're Mandalorian number 1. Okay, accounted for. Mandalorian number 2. You're Mandalorian number 3. Like, I just found it funny how they were just throwing, hey, Mando, like that's his name. And I was just like, okay, but what if there's more than one Mandalorian in the room? But anyway, so Rand basically tells the Mandalorian, hey, the only reason I invited you back, because I heard about the problems that you're having with the guild, is I need your ship. I also need you as part of this 5-man crew to break one of my crew members out of prison. And so that's when you meet this ragtag group of people. You got a former Imperial sharpshooter named Mayfeld, and it was funny that they made a joke where he was like, oh, he's a former Imperial sharpshooter, and the Mandalorian was like, well, that doesn't really mean much. And he's like, hey, I wasn't a stormtrooper, jackass, leading into the joke that people have in the real world that stormtroopers can't shoot for shit. And apparently they have it in the Star Wars world too, so I thought that was kind of cute. You meet a Twi'lek named Xi'an, and apparently the Mandalorian and the Twi'lek had a somewhat romantic relationship before he left the crew, which apparently broke her heart. You meet a Davaronian named Berg, who's also played by Clancy Brown, who's the voice of Lex Luthor from the Justice League and Superman animated series. The only reason I remember the name Davaronian, which is his alien species, is because it reminds me of pepperoni. And of course, it makes me hungry, so I'm just like, pepperoni, Davaronian. Alright, gotcha. And then a robot, a droid named Zero. And the thing I like about this episode, more than what I like about the last episode, was you learn way more about the Mandalorian and the Star Wars universe in general in this episode. Unlike what I said, the problems I had with the last episode, and why I said the last episode, the gunslinger, was all fillers, because you don't learn anything. I really like this ragtag group of characters that they introduced. The action in this episode is pretty great. And it's funny because I'm just like, I'm kind of confused on the prowess of the Mandalorian, because you see in this episode, like, he was taking out a whole droid army by himself. He impressed all the other group members, and they were even talking about how the Mandalorians are some of the most badass warriors in the galaxy. But then you get to like previous episodes, he's being taken out easily by Jawas. And then he was having troubles riding the sperm T-Rex that Nick Nolte's alien character, I Have Spoken, was riding in the episode. And yes, I call it a sperm T-Rex because that's exactly what it looks like. A sperm cell mixed with a T-Rex. But overall, this episode was fun. I wouldn't say it's my favorite episode. I think my favorite episode still goes to episode 3, directed by Deborah Choi. And she's actually directing the next episode, so I'm really excited to see what that next episode is. I definitely think this is my second favorite episode. And of course, you can't have an episode of The Mandalorian without Baby Yoda. And they did have some Baby Yoda fun where I was like, oh snap, Baby Yoda's getting his John Wick on, where you saw the android Zero look and saw Baby Yoda, but then as soon as he turned his back, Baby Yoda was gone. And I was like, oh snap, Baby Yoda's getting his Jedi training on. He was hiding, and it was a little bit of some Home Alone action. And it kind of goes to show that, yeah, Baby Yoda is smart to the point that he was able to help and protect the Mandalorian from that Triceratops looking creature from episode 2. But he's actually smarter than we think, to the point that he was aware enough to know that Zero was a threat to him to hide. And he was actually going to use his force powers to try to attack him. But the Mandalorian saved him at the last moment, which I thought when Zero exploded, I was like, oh shit, Baby Yoda blew his head off. But it turned out it was the Mandalorian blasting him from behind. My only thing that I'm kind of confused about, despite loving this episode, is ultimately, where is this show going? Like, there's only 8 episodes for this season, and the last 3 episodes have been pretty stand alone. And I don't have a problem with that if that's the direction that you're going with this show. I know they said that this show is going to be a Western take on the Star Wars universe, and a lot of Westerns were standalone issues, and they didn't connect to an overarching through line or story. But you take the first 3 episodes that were connected to each other and we're telling an overarching story, but then you get these next 3 episodes, it's like every episode was its own individual story. And I'm just like, where is this show going? Because again, there's only 2 episodes left for the end of this season, and I don't know ultimately where this season is going. Like last week's episode, they introduced this shadowy figure at the end of the episode that is more than likely going to play into the story further on, but they don't even mention him or her at all. So that's really my only thing. The whole time watching, I'm like, I'm here for this episode, but at the same time, I'm like, what's the story for this season? But yeah, but like I said, despite all of that, I really enjoyed this episode. Like I mentioned, I didn't like it as much as episode 3. It's still my second favorite episode. I would definitely say episode 6 of The Mandalorian, The Prisoner, is still a blockbuster. So anyway, have you seen episode 6 of The Mandalorian? What did you think about it? What's your favorite episode of The Mandalorian so far? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out the channel. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you are alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I'll catch you guys next time, and may the Force be with you.